Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very interesting story. Franklin Graham worries Trump too old to run in 2024 Axios. The Reverend Franklin Graham says potential 2024 presidential bid by Donald Trump would be, quote, a very tough thing to do, the prominent Christian leader told Axios on HBO why it matters. Graham, the president of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association and Samaritan's Purse, was among Trump's earliest and most prominent evangelical defenders. Graham told Axios on HBO that a Trump comeback would be difficult because his advancing age and eating habits. Quote, I think for him, everything will depend on his health at the time. If he still has the energy and strength like he does, I don't. You know the guy does not eat well, and it's amazing the energy he has. He's lost weight, 15 pounds maybe. So he might be in good health and in good shape, I don't know. Trump would be 78 in 2024, the same age as Joe Biden last year. The big picture, Graham stood by Trump through repeated scandals, telling Axios on HBO in 2018 that he saw Trump as a defender of the faith. Quote, now people say, well, Frank, but how can you defend him when he's lived such a sordid life? I never said he was the best example of the Christian faith. He defends the faith, and I appreciate that very much. Is there an example of a virtuous or faithful Democrat? Give me an example. Biden? He was accused of the most horrendous criminal act by Tara Reade. Bill Clinton? I think that I symbolize God's faith and purity. I don't think so. Impeached because he lied under oath, which is perjury. Trump was never impeached on perjury. He was never really impeached on a legal statute. They just politicized the impeachment, the two impeachments. Anyway, that's a whole other story. He never worked with Russia. He never pressured Zelensky. And he never told people to commit criminal acts. Anyway, I think with all due respect to the Reverend Franklin Graham, with all due respect, I respectfully disagree, and here's why. President Trump he doesn't drink. That's number one. That's an enormous advantage. He doesn't smoke. Another enormous advantage in terms of health and energy. He is a billionaire. He was a billionaire before becoming president. He has a certain level of drive and determination and exuberance or energy that most people don't have. Most people just don't have that level of ambition or drive. And I don't think it's going out on a limb to say that with 4 years from now, or around 3.5 years from now, he'll be in better shape than our beloved President Biden was last year. You know the thing. And so we can go through the litany of, let's see, I'm trying to be algorithmically friendly here. Issues pertaining to, let's just say that Trump will be able to communicate and will be more energetic than our beloved president was, Biden, last year. Let's just say that he'll be the picture of health compared to what we have now in the Oval Office. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. The only person that Republicans have is Donald Trump. I mean, you could say Ron DeSantis, but see, President Trump has to, he has a good fastball, very good fastball, and he got to the presidency using his fastball. Now he needs a changeup. Now he needs a curveball. Now he needs a slider, a sinker. He can't simply throw the same pitch, okay? He needs to fix and address problems and issues and overcome certain obstacles. Every person involved with establishment politics, I'm referring to Jimmy Kimmel and Hollywood and social media algorithms, and virtually a monopoly on media thought against this man. media, the narrative has been he's an orange menace. They don't talk about the record low unemployment throughout a great deal. I think most of his tenure, at least half. They don't talk about the fact that Trump allocated more funding to historically black colleges and universities than any president ever. They don't talk about the fact that he was the first president to step foot in North Korea, to begin détente between North and South Korea, and President Moon Jae-in of South Korea stated that Trump deserved the Nobel Peace Prize. There's so many accomplishments. One of the most important, if not the most important, was to remove Americans. On May 1st, 2021, he negotiated a deal to get us out of our longest-running military conflict in Afghanistan. That's the greatest achievement of a president in decades. And you have people who devote their life. They're like, I'm a liberal, I'm a good, virtuous, morally superior liberal. That's who they are. That's their perception of themselves. You have people who wake up every morning and say, how can I feel morally superior? It doesn't matter if my arguments make sense. It doesn't matter if I actually, side with a moral cause or look at a complex geopolitical issue and say, okay, well, how can we find a solution and a peaceful outcome? It's how do I feel morally and superior and virtuous to Trump supporters or to anyone who disagrees with me on the left. The good, oftentimes apoplectic, but always morally advanced liberal Democrat wants to feel like he or she is on the side of justice and reason and logic and truth and justice. At this desire to feel like they're on the right side of history when they lack historical context, they lack the knowledge of history, or they lack an understanding of what's going on politically, both at home and abroad. When you have AOC, for example, who had to be told by Yad Vashem in Jerusalem to learn more about a time period in history she should never again discuss. When you equate what took place under Trump and you're ignoring the fact that worse is taking place under Biden, and then no pictures into looking into chain-linked fences, no saying, oh, well, this is a camp, but Yad Vashem refuted her absurd claims, her distorted, warped version of history. I wrote an op-ed in the Jerusalem Post explaining how horrific her distorted, warped view of history really is. Notice how she's not calling the facilities that Biden's using, not labeling them in the same manner. Gee, I wonder why. Maybe because it was just a display of complete ignorance on a topic she should never utilize, but that's the thing. Democrats utilize time periods in history. Well, I would oppose the 1930s and 1940s Germans, say, the morally superior liberals. No, you wouldn't. You'd probably be the most fanatical, vicious example of those people in history. You'd probably, the people who wake up and say Trump is bad and, look what he worked with Russia, and people who suspend logic just because they don't like Trump, suspend reason and rational thought, disown friends. I mean, you'd be the most fanatical, like anyone who would disown a friend because his friend is voting for Trump. Let's say, for example, I voted for Trump primarily, in addition to a lot of other things, but primarily because on May 1st, 2021, he negotiated a deal to bring American soldiers out of our longest-running counterinsurgency conflict. I think that's the greatest moral dilemma we face as a country. Democrats or morally superior liberals would disown friends for that. I have 5 or 6 friends who if you take those types of people and put them into 1930s, 1940s Germany, they'd be the most fanatical. And by the way, if you do any research at all, look up a heroic woman, young woman, Sophie Scholl, one of the most heroic people in the history of mankind. a young German woman whose life was taken because she tried to oppose her regime at that time period. At the universities. In the universities were the most virulent fanatics when it came to the leader that was actually praised by a CNN writer. Check out my segment prior. Okay. But anyway, you see history repeating itself in a certain way, but not in the manner that Democrats like to twist things. President Trump's tweets did not make him similar to any, totalitarian or despot. You have to be completely ignorant. You have to be one of the biggest buffoons and imbeciles to ever walk the earth if you think that Trump, because of tweets, because of things that he said that actually were more benign than things that Biden and Clinton and others have said. He never used the word super predators. He never said half the things that Biden said, even last year. And when you look at Trump signed prison reform, Biden wrote the crime bill, Biden voted alongside Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld to get us into never-ending regime change, conflict, everything. Trump has removed Americans, worked to remove Americans from that region of the world, less militant, less hawkish. Who's the despot? Then you have an intel agency basically not only siding with Biden, but fabricating everything just to elect a Democrat. Who's the authoritarian? You think authoritarians don't have full, absolute control of their intel agencies? Who's the authoritarian? So you'd have to be, like I said, completely ignorant of history. But then again, you're talking about Democrats, so... Will Trump run? I hope, because he doesn't have... my main point here is that DeSantis is great, but he doesn't have, the power to overcome all the obstacles leveled at the next Republican nominee, which hopefully will be Trump. Romney would lose by a landslide. Anyone other than Trump would lose by either a landslide or decisively. And President Trump has to address certain issues. Maybe tone it down a bit. Maybe tone the rhetoric down. Maybe try to... There's so many things I've said in the past couple of months that he needs to do, in my view. But I think he should run again. He needs to run again. Otherwise, Biden goes 8 years. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. And I think he'll be in good health. I think he'll be in a lot better health than our beloved president is right now. Give me your thoughts.